This is SmartBoard Essentials 5, and we're just going to explore a few drawing tools and shapes and so on. So, first of all, some shapes and lines. In this version of the software, what we're looking at are shapes that you can draw with this icon. These might again be in slightly different places on the version of the software you have. So there's the standard shapes, there are the regular polygons, and don't forget with pens, I also mentioned before, that in the pens you do have what's called a shape recognition pen where you can draw and it will tidy things up. But I'm just going to use the shapes first of all. So I'll draw, let's say, a triangle. Okay, and another type of triangle. And let's have a look at a regular polygon. Let's have a pentagon, and we'll draw a pentagon and drag it out to the size that I want it. And I haven't mentioned, and I should have done, just lines. So you can draw just standard lines, or you can draw lines with arrowheads on, or you can draw lines with arrowheads at both ends, and you can draw curved lines with arrowheads. So there's a huge range of things that you can do, and a range of different ways. But look for this shapes drawing tool and the lines drawing tool in particular in order to do this. How do you move, rotate and resize these shapes? So let me go back to the shapes tool and let's just draw a rounded rectangle. How do you move it? Well, the first thing you've got to do is to come out of the drawing mode and go into the select mode. So don't forget, and it is easy and I keep doing it, go to select, because now you can click on the border, the edge of your drawn shape, and you get these handles around the edge of it. And most of you, I think, will probably be familiar with this. The key is really look and see what is showing where the mouse pointer is. If you've got this kind of crosshatch with arrowheads, then that basically means that if you click and drag, you will drag the shape to somewhere else on the screen. If I move my mouse pointer over the blob on the bottom right hand corner, I get this kind of diagonal line with arrowheads, and of course what I can then do is resize the shape, keeping it in proportion. You'll sometimes get a blob here which allows you then to stretch it out. And you'll also see this green blob, and if I hover my mouse over that, hopefully you can guess what that's going to do, because if I hold my mouse down, I can rotate things around. And also it's worth mentioning, you can do the same with text. So if I select a piece of text, I could rotate the text and move the text. Okay, so that's how you move, rotate and resize shapes. Sometimes you'll want to fill them in as well and do other clever things with them. Well, basically, if you've drawn a shape, and let's draw a right angle triangle. Okay, there we are. If I go to the select tool again and select the shape, so click on one of the boundaries of the shape, you can find out a lot about what you can do with this shape by this little drop down arrow at the bottom, the top right hand corner. So if I click on that, you can do 101 things, slight exaggeration. But one of the things that you can do is look at the properties of the shape, and you can then decide you want it filled in with solid colour, and you can choose the colour, or you could go for something a little bit more tasteful with a gradient fill, where the colour changes from that to that. So there's all kinds of things that you can do. You can even put an image inside the shape if you so wish. So that's the properties of the shape. And if I just show you a couple of other bits and pieces, you can clone shapes. So if you want a perfect copy rather than trying to draw a perfect copy, you can draw a shape, go to the select mode and select it, and then you can clone, so you end up with another circle that's exactly the same size. I could do an Olympics logo if it wasn't copyrighted, probably. You get the idea here. And there's also one, and it always fools me this because I always get it wrong. If I drop down the arrow here, can you see there's the infinite cloner? So if you wanted lots and lots of circles very quickly, if you turn on infinite clone, and then go to the shape and select it. Once it's selected, you can just drag it away to make lots of that original shape. So it just means you can keep going and very quickly build up a pattern. It just saves you time. But I always find infinite clone tricky. Hope that's useful to get you started.